What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Unsolved Enigma. It's your boy Aaron and my lovely wife Nicole over here.
Hi.
And we got an interesting one for y'all today. I know I say that all the time, but this one was kind of shocking.
So
I'm not gonna laugh because no death is shocking at all. No death is funny. None of that. You know what I mean? But you'll see what I mean.
So we generally focused on unsolved cases and missing people. This one's not unsolved, but this one, the murderer is actually somebody that we know pretty well and that we used to work with years and years ago. So we figured we had to feature this one on our channel because it's crazy.
First things first, shout out to the 5115 Death Squad. Y'all know who y'all are. You know what I mean? Go ahead and hit them likes. You already know. But I'm gonna go ahead and start it off. This takes place in, I don't want to butcher the name of the place, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say Wisconsin, outside Green Bay. And it's gonna deal with Nikki Vanderheyden. I believe I said that correctly. And she was born in 1985, and she graduated in high school in 2003. And she studied at the University of Wisconsin Green Bay, where she got her bachelor's in science and education. And also, long story short, she wanted to be a teacher, and she ended up being a substitute teacher, but being a mom was her number one thing. She had 3 kids, 2 from a previous marriage, and then she had one 6-month-old with Douglas Dietrich.
Who's her boyfriend?
Yeah, that was her boyfriend who she lived with, and she, I guess that's for the past couple of years that when they were together and stuff like that. The relationship wasn't, I guess, how do I rephrase that? From what it looked like, everything was okay. You know, she liked going hiking, this, that, and the third. She loved spending time with her kids, but she never really gone out. She was basically, you know what I mean, work, home, kids, work, home, kids. Of course, y'all know if you got kids and this, that, and the third. We know. So, I guess it ended up taking a toll on the relationship. There was on the rocks a little bit. And plus, I guess Doug, he wasn't ready to get out of his party phase. You know what I mean? Which, it happens. We have all been there. So Doug basically wasn't ready to settle down. He wasn't sure to be a husband and a father. And she basically, you know, she already had 2 kids plus that other one. She thought she had suspicions of him cheating and stuff like that. Nothing really came of it.
They finally got to go out for a night in the town, and Nicole's mom watched their 6-month-old until her friend got off of work to relieve her, and then her other 2 children were with her ex for the night. So they were initially drinking at the watering hole and watching a live band perform there, and then Nicole and a few of their friends from the group went over to the Sardine Can, which is another bar, while Doug and some of his friends stayed behind at the other bar.
If you're back home, it's kind of like Granby Street, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
If it's like Granby
or like Kelly's.
No, not Kelly's. Like Old Town Tavern and all that.
Yes.
I forgot. Was it Queensway? There you go. It's like Queensway. Like we were saying earlier, Nicole really didn't go out. And, you know what I mean? She just had the baby 6 months old. So when she finally got a break, she cut loose. Like when everybody was on their first beer, she was like down in her second, getting ready for the third. Something like that. You know what I mean? Like she was just... She punched out. You know what I mean? I mean, we all need it. We all been there.
Been there.
After Doug decided to hang back at the bar, at the watering hole with his friends, I believe Greg and another friend who met them there. They were standing there getting drink, and they told him they meet him at the Sardine Can. Okay, so Nicole was, of course, irritated, drunk, and mad, and so she started texting him, "Fuck you, you abusive asshole. What slut are you with, etc. Oh, I bet you happy with that bitch, blah, 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 blah." And then he wasn't answering her calls, which, bro, all right, so they were in there. They stuck up around at the watering holes so they could do Adderall and finish drinking, hanging out while his girl was getting mad. So she's pissed off, drunk, texting, and then her friend called Doug. Mind you, he wasn't answering Nicole's call. So when her friend called, he picked up on the first ring, and that sent her off the deep end. You know what I mean? So she's fucking pissed off, storming around, this, that, and the third. So she was so pissed off, she ended up leaving the bar she was at, and then she got mad, ended up walking off, and nobody really saw her after that. She was, I guess he tried to call her back after he decided to leave the watering hole. He couldn't really hear her. She was all belligerent. She said, and she was so drunk he couldn't understand her. Which, me personally, if you know your girl hasn't gone out that much and you know she's a lightweight, why would you let her be on her own, regardless if you think she with friends or not? You are her security.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where he dropped the ball, big time. But that's neither here nor there. So he couldn't understand her, but he had a text from her saying that she had met a friend.
Doug ended up going home and falling asleep because he figured she was with a friend and she was good. When he woke up, he realized that she had never made it home the next morning.
Bro, for a motherfucker who's blowing Adderall, how the hell are you going home going to sleep?
Mm-hmm.
Bro, you should have went home and cleaned that house. Well, he did have to go home and relieve Dallas from watching the baby. Because Dallas, when he came home, Dallas made a comment was, "Where's Nicole?" And I guess he was saying, like, "Oh, I don't know. She's with the friend, blah, 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 blah." And Dallas made a joke, "Oh, is she in the trunk? Is she in the trunk of your car?" And I'm not sure how it ended, but Dallas knew that he was plotting on kicking Nicole and the kids out, like, I guess relatively soon.
So Doug thought that she was still with a friend, but he still was a little worried that she never came home. So he started calling her family and friends looking for her. And then later in the day, around 4 p.m. on May 21st, he reported her missing.
Which was that was the next day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Safety, this is Therese.
Yes. How do I go about, missing persons?
Are you wanting to report a missing person?
Yeah.
Okay, where are they missing from?
Last seen from corner of Howard and Maple Street, up the sardine can
Okay,
last night,
okay.
and walking south on Maple Street through a friend.
Okay, and who's missing?
It's my girlfriend, and she does live with me, and she's never done this before.
What's her name?
Nicole Vanderheyden.
And does she live with you?
Yeah.
He reported her missing after he called around because he noticed she wasn't there. He got up, of course, hungover, groggy and stuff. I believe he did wake up in the middle of the night to go feed the baby, which me personally, he should have checked even then and there. He should have been trying to blow her up. But I don't know the situation, to each his own, you know what I mean? But so Nicole's body was found in a field 3 miles from her home. And that was reported by 2 kids. I guess they were riding bikes or they were hiking or just walking around and stuff, but they saw the body in the middle of a cornfield and they immediately called the police. 2 hours prior to Doug calling the police and reporting missing, and then once he called and made the initial missing person, the police put 2 and 2 together, of course, but the body was brutally murdered. So she was murdered elsewhere, of course, but then thrown into the embankment or like the area, the little field type area. So she was beaten so badly that they had to identify her through dental records. And because she was so unrecognizable and she was naked, the only thing she had on was a pair of socks and a pink wristband from the concert from the night before. Her clothes were found and her phone, or her clothes and belongings were found later dumped along the highway that was leading to the area.
Nicole suffered 241 injuries total and had been strangled with what they believe was an electrical cord that was found nearby that had blood on it. She had facial injuries, a fractured jaw, and injuries to the genital area that was consistent with a sexual assault. And she also had signs of blunt force trauma. She had bruises on her hands and her fingernails were broken, which indicated that she had fought back. And then there were blood spatters on her body that indicated that she had been stomped on while she laid on the ground. So the person that killed her...
Yeah, I didn't see that part.
Yeah, the person that killed her beat the shit out of her.
It sounds a lot like personal.
Yeah.
Almost.
And it wasn't, which is bizarre.
No, it was. I mean, that's usually when you hear somebody like really, really beaten like that, it's not like random. You know what I mean? I would say sometimes, mostly it's a crime of passion or it's someone you know. You know what I mean? Like there's history behind that.
It's not just,
oh, I'm going to meet Joe Schmo and then like bludgeon him to death. And if that's the case, I mean, you probably got a serial killer on your hands. Check out the other episodes. So after the body was discovered, the police kind of had an idea, but they didn't really say anything. They didn't want to hint at it, so they went to go question Doug at his house, and they had a
like
what did he
a
call
tiny
it?
camera that they recorded.
I forgot the name of it. Whatever he called it.
He didn't know either.
Yeah, he didn't know he was being recorded. So it was like a ping camera or like one of them little keychain cameras or something. So the police was recording him without him knowing, without his permission. And as they were questioning him in his home, he showed he didn't have any injuries. He told them everything. He told them that they all were at the bar, that he had a little argument with her, and he came home and she was supposedly with a friend. And so while they were recording him and he didn't know anything about the little hidden camera, he wasn't giving them information, but he was giving them information, and you'll find out later on. But they were questioning him, and they were letting him know like what's going on with the missing person, blah 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 blah. And he was being very forthcoming. He was giving them all the information that they needed. You know what I mean? In his eyes, he gave him the phone. He told him that he didn't have no bruises. He showed he didn't have any bruises on him. And then later on that evening, after it was confirmed that she was murdered, that's when they grabbed him in like the middle of the night, like 1 o'clock in the morning, and they brought him down to the sheriff's office for questioning.
Or the people that are, closest to whoever's missing or deceased, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's totally normal for us to be talking to you.
I assume so, yeah.
And Greg and Aaron and everybody else that was there.
Mhm.
Okay, your whole group of friends are the last people that she was with for the most part.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do not suspect.
And she did not come home at all last night after you got
Not at
home.
all. There wasn't a blip or word from her.
Okay. She never stepped foot into that house after you.
No,
After you got
not that it would have been, no, she didn't. She would have came and went to bed. And I woke up to Dylan crying, so.
And you don't know where she is or what happened to her?
Not a clue.
Did you do anything to cause her to go missing?
No, not at all. Besides being a bit on the phone,
Yeah. Well, I think what we're looking at is, this body that was found.
Okay.
Down the street. I don't think it's been 100% identified as her, but there's a lot of similarities.
What happened?
Well, I don't know.
That's what we're trying to figure out here.
That's what we don't know.
Is there anything else that you can think of that would be helpful to us in this?
I'm gonna talk to everybody on that frickin' street and in that neighborhood. I need to do it.
Well, and that's part of what we're gonna do too, obviously we can't go do it at 2:30 in the morning,
I'm gonna talk to everybody on that frickin' street and in that neighborhood. I need to do it.
Well, and that's part of what we're gonna do too, obviously we can't go do it at 2:30 in the morning, Is there anything in your house that they're gonna find that's gonna say you had anything to do with this?
Absolutely nothing whatsoever.
Okay.
Nothing. I have nothing to do with this.
Which usually with incidents like this, it's standard procedure. They always question everybody, especially the people who are the most closest, the people who last saw them. You know what I mean? So when I first saw that, I didn't think nothing really of that.
And he didn't know yet that she was dead at
Yeah,
that point.
he didn't know at all. And mind you, this is also another tactic that detectives use. They'll, like, if they know you have answers, or they trying to question you, or they want to, like, get you riled up or try to break you, they'll pick you up in the middle of the night, put you in a cold room, all that stuff, this, that, and the third. They did the same thing to him because they thought he did it. And honestly, with the way stuff kind of looked, they had an argument, this, that, and the third, and with the text messages, you abusive piece of shit, blah, 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 blah.
Wasn't looking great.
Yeah, it wasn't really looking good for him. And then it gets worse for him. So during the interview, they were questioning him. That's when they found out. That's when they broke down and told him that a body was discovered, and it wasn't fully at this point. It wasn't identified as her completely, but they already, with the missing person report and with everything else, they already had an idea that it was him. It was her. So once they told him, Doug broke down when the police told him that Nicole was dead. He had no idea, and in the interview, the police interview, you could kind of see the hesitation, and like the shock kind of sitting in. You know what I mean? I don't know if
his
you caught it.
His reaction was genuine.
Yeah, you could definitely tell. And he was like, you can ask anybody out there that night, blah, 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 blah. And the police said, of course.
That's what they'll be
doing. Like, of course we're going to be doing that, but not at 2 o'clock in the morning. Ha, 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 ha. You know what I mean? I mean, the cops, they were just doing their jobs. I mean, I'm just being funny. But me personally, I couldn't imagine being in his shoes. You know what I mean? At this point,
not.
No, I'm just saying, like, something
know.
was to happen to anybody in my family. You know what I mean? And then you get, like, if you getting pulled in, and that's when you find out.
Yeah.
And God forbid, the mother of my kids. Oh yeah.
Doug gave police permission to search his home. So Doug spoke to the family lawyer about everything, which honestly you should do.
Yeah, even if you didn't do anything. Regardless, because if the police have any indication that it's you, or even when you, regardless, anytime you go get questioned by the police, if you're not sure, if you're hesitant and you're not confident in yourself, get you a lawyer. Because
Doug ended up doing nothing wrong, and he still was getting screwed. So at that point, he refused to give a DNA sample at the advice of the lawyer. When they searched,
once he kind of realized that it was.
That they were looking at him.
Yeah, because he was sitting at home when his sister-in-law or sister got the text that they found a body, and that's when they started, like, you know what I mean, getting all iffy and shit.
Yeah. Blood and clumps of blonde hair were found near the home, and there was also blood found inside the home. What they thought was blood on his shoes and blood in the garage. So everything was looking not great for him. He was arrested for first-degree murder. They took DNA swabs from Nicole's body. There were shoe prints that were found on Nicole's body that matched shoes found in Doug's home.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then, like I said, blood was found in the garage and in the home. And all signs were pointing to Doug. So the police held him in custody for 18 days.
Which, I mean, again...
It's understandable.
Playing both sides, playing both sides. You got to play devil's advocate. You know what I mean? You got to look at both shoes, both sides of the fence. You know what I mean? I mean, the cops, if you're handed all that evidence,
it makes sense.
I mean, I'm still gonna do my due diligence. You know what I mean? But
that's the issue. Is a lot of times they don't.
Yeah, a lot of times, especially if you've been watching a lot of our shows, you've noticed that is a huge trend.
But luckily, in this case, they waited for stuff to come back before they.
So in August of 2016, the test results finally came back and proved that the blood that was found on his shoe wasn't actually blood, and the blood in the garage was turkey blood. I believe he was hunting and he went on a hunting trip, or he went and did some turkey killing. He went and killed some turkeys and stuff like that, so the DNA didn't match. You know what I mean? Of course, it didn't come back on anything. And then the DNA that was found on Nicole didn't come back to Doug. It matched George Burch, a.k.a. Big Bitch Country. Sorry, I just don't like him.
He goes by Big Country.
He goes by Big Country, and he was born in Hampton, Newport News, Virginia, that whole little area. He was 6'7", 270 pounds, and he was also tried for murder in 1998 of a gang leader, but he was found not guilty. I believe it was a justifiable homicide or something like that, but then again in 1998 he was also sentenced to burglary and also firearm possession with a felon. So he already been a piece of shit. And mind you, we worked with him. I worked with him at a couple restaurants.
I worked with him
and I've had multiple altercations with this dude. And the last one didn't really end too well. You know what I mean?
And then he went and killed somebody named Nicole.
He must have been mad what I did. I don't know. So, anyways.
So
He's a piece of shit. He's always been a piece of shit. And we're about to get into the story about this piece of shit.
It's like a piece of cheese without the corners.
You never be a sliced jack.
So he moved to New York with his wife, and they had 3 kids. That relationship ended up going downhill.
Not surprised.
So he moved to Green Bay for a fresh start. Police checked his background, and shortly after the murder, he was involved in a hit and run and torched his own car.
I believe right after the murder, he torched his car because he knew.
Evidence.
Yeah, the hit. I believe. Don't quote me on this, but I believe the hit and run was intentional, but not intentional. Like when it happened, he was like, "Oh, boom, I'm
Now I can
out,"
torch
and
my
then now
car.
I'm gonna torch the car, blah 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 blah, and then he's gonna try to say, "Well, I don't know, I wasn't driving it." So his cell phone data showed that his location pinged all the locations that Nicole was in that night, including the area where her body was found. I believe where her stuff was tossed out of the car. They even looked on his phone, and he was researching the case.
Because it was all over the news.
I mean, granted, it's all over the news, but how dumb can you be?
Yeah, I think he's researching it to see, like,
What he could say
What-
to cover his
and
ass.
how far they
And
had
you'll see what I
gotten.
mean. So, after they looked up all that, and then they ended up looking up his background, they had a feeling, a hunch, I'll say. So, they decided to bring him in for questioning.
So he told police that he met Nicole at Richard Cranium's bar. They got into his car, they stopped at his place to get a condom.
This place sounds like Phoebus.
They went to his place to get a condom, and then supposedly went to her place to hook up, and started hooking up in the car
In front of her
in
house.
front of her house because her boyfriend and her baby were in the house. So this is
I guarantee you that's why they found hair and stuff in front of her crib. In
Yeah.
front of his house.
So then, according to Big Country, mind you,
I'm 6'5", and this he's got me beat.
he's huge.
Like he's like 270.
He's a
yeah,
big guy.
He's bigger than me.
6'7". He towers.
Bigger than you are, the harder they fall.
He towers. And Doug was not a small guy, but he wasn't this big. So, Big Country said that Doug walked up to the car while they were hooking up and hits him and knocks him out. And when Big Country wakes up, Nicole is dead. Supposedly, Doug forces him at gunpoint to...
What did Country say? He said, when I woke up and I came to, only thing I heard was, you better not fucking move.
Yeah,
Or you
or
better
don't
not
even
fucking,
think
don't even
about it.
fucking think about it. Like, bruh, you from Virginia for one. I already know. It's fight or flight. You fighting, bruh. So come on. If somebody hits you in your head, you're not getting knocked out, bruh. Especially that dude, he's smaller than you. Come on.
George, did you murder Nicole Vanderheyden?
No, sir. Definitely not.
Do you know who did?
Doug Dietrich.
Burch then described getting out of that field, saying he lunged at Dietrich and got into his car and drove home. He says he then showered and went on a fishing trip the next day. That led into a very tense cross-examination from the district attorney, who questioned Burch on why he didn't call police or tell anybody about what happened, despite viewing dozens of news articles about Vanderheyden's death. The DA also tried to poke several holes in Burch's telling of the events. Closing arguments are expected tomorrow.
Sorry.
So, supposedly Doug forced him at gunpoint to get Nicole's body, drive 3 miles and dump it, and then Doug pushed George down a hill and drove off. So, the police obviously found this to be unbelievable, and Big Country was arrested in September of 2016.
Okay, so the day after the murder, he went fishing like ain't nothing happened. Him and his the guy who he moved there to go stay with. They went on a fishing trip like ain't nothing happened. It was pictures and stuff like that. Like dude, he's carrying on with a normal life. So even with his story, it sounded like complete and utter bull. And although Doug did have a concealed carry permit, he did not own a gun, which was registered. Not saying he still could have owned one. You know what I mean? He could have had one, but by the looks of him, and he has a family lawyer, I doubt he got a dirty gun. So, and if he has a concealed carry permit, there's no point in even buying a dirty gun. But that's another story. So, luckily, like I was mentioning before, when the cops came and they interviewed him with the hidden camera, Doug had on a Fitbit. And I'm pretty sure everybody knows what a Fitbit is, but it's one of those watches that tracks your heart rate, your steps, You know what I mean? And it keeps record of it. You can pull it up on your phone, this, that, and the third. You can access it.
It stores a lot of data.
Yeah. So when he was wearing it the night of the murder, and also the next morning, and then when the police came and talked to him, and when they downloaded the data, they showed that after he got home, he pretty much didn't move at all. The only time he moved pretty much was like maybe like a little bit, because maybe to feed the baby around like 6 or something. I believe that's what he said he was doing. He got up to feed the baby or take a piss and stuff like that. The downloaded data showed that since he barely moved that night, Nicole's murder, like there was no way he could have done it. So his sleep data was ruled inadmissible, which it's a hit or miss, supposedly. I mean, I guess you could take it off or this, that, and the third. But his steps weren't. So, I mean, like I said, they counted it was 30 to 40 steps at 4 a.m. around the time where her body was supposedly, where she was killed and supposedly dumped into the field. So when you add it up and you put the Fitbit into everything, the body was found 3 miles from his house. Even if you run, that's about 7-8 minutes a mile. You know what I mean? God knows how many steps you taking. So Doug didn't take enough steps to run out the house and do everything that Big Country said was done, and then go back in the house, or the other story, then go take Big Country and them out to the field and then run home. He had no time. He didn't have enough time. Yeah, he didn't have enough time for any of that. He didn't have enough footsteps tracked on his on his Fitbit, so that shit got thrown out pretty much. He basically got off the hook.
He got cleared.
Yeah.
So in March of they put Big Country on trial, and in March of 2018, a jury found him guilty of first-degree intentional homicide.
The verdict reads as follows. We, the jury, find the defendant, George Stephen Burch, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide, is charged in the information. It is signed by our foreperson and dated this first day of March, 2018.
And he was sentenced to life with no parole.
Anna Babcock, the new lawyer for Big Country, which I don't even know how anybody would represent him, but yeah, it's our constitutional right. But he ended up receiving a new lawyer, or I guess getting a new lawyer, and he filed notice in Brown County Circuit Court on July 31st of last year. He was trying to appeal his conviction. He's claiming that his cell phone data was unfairly used against him. The court is going to hear his appeal. Now, I know you was about to say something, but regardless, bro, once they get that warrant for your phone data, you searched it. You did all of it. You were in those places. So your phone data, regardless, that ain't got nothing to do with it. And honestly, it doesn't hold your story up.
But if he wins the appeal, they can't use any of that. If he wins the appeal and he gets a retrial and they throw out the cell phone data, they can't use any of it. So it would give him a leg up. But the issues that they'll be hearing are, was it reasonable for him to understand that the Green Bay police would download and search the entire contents of his cell phone after telling him they wanted to review text messages he sent the night of the crash? And did they violate his right against illegal search and seizure?
So Big Country signed a consent form saying that he's given the police department permission to search his Samsung cell phone. And was it reasonable for the police and prosecutors to determine that allowed them to download and review all contents from all apps? And honestly, if you didn't read the fine print and you didn't read it thoroughly, that's your fault.
Exactly.
It's a contract, bro. It's your fault.
The other issue that they'll be hearing is, after they downloaded the information, what portion of his data could they lawfully retain? And if they could keep the data legally, for how long could they keep it?
I mean, at the end of the day, if it has nothing to do with, if anything that they go through the phone and find, if it doesn't have anything to do with the case, it gets thrown out. But anything that has anything to do with relevancy, anything on his phone that was relevant to the case or relevant to the murder, they're going to hold it. And the fact that you gave them permission, you muppet. Like, come on, man. Use your brains, man. If you're going to do some dumb shit like this, at least be smart. Don't do dumb shit like this at all, though. Matter of fact, forget what I said. His attorney is asking the Supreme Court to overturn the decision to allow technological evidence in the murder trial.
That would include the Fitbit, and I don't think there's any way that they're going to throw that out because there's not really grounds to throw that out. This isn't the first time a Fitbit has been used in a trial.
No. It was, honestly, when me and her did some research on this, I think we found
There's
like
several cases.
Yeah.
He also filed an appeal. He was originally ordered to pay restitution to the family, and then of course he had to pay money towards like a crime team that helped solve different parts of this. He filed an appeal on the restitution that he was ordered to pay the family. The judge did note that he is serving life in prison, meaning that he lacks financial resources or income. So the judge left it to the State Department of Corrections to determine how he will pay the restitution.
Watch,
which I'm not really sure.
They're gonna have him working in the kitchen. They're gonna have him out there cutting grass.
I feel like he should be paying the restitution. I mean, I know that he's in jail for life, but the amount of turmoil that he's put this family through.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, there's the only way he could do that is if he had a job, or if he had like a trust or inheritance, or if he wrote a book and donated all that money towards it. You know what I mean? And put all that money towards it. But other than that, I don't really see any other way.
I don't know.
Because granted, if he was in the penitentiary, and he was working, he'd be making like $1 a day or something like that around there. I don't know. I've never been.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what they meant by leaving it up to the Department of Corrections to decide how he pays it, but that's where it's at. So obviously this case is solved. They know that he did it. I don't think he's going to get very far with his appeal, but we will see.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay.
I'm not sure when they're
tuned to this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure when they're hearing his appeal. I just know that a lot of articles came out towards the end of December saying that they had decided to hear his appeal. So I'm assuming sometime this year.
I mean, when she has that right, I'll give him that.
Yeah, but hopefully he doesn't win because the evidence against him is pretty damning, and it would be a shame for some of it to get thrown out on a technicality. So there's no phone numbers or anything for us to leave here because this case is solved. But if you thought this case was interesting, leave a comment below. Tell us what you think.
Yep.
Hit the like and subscribe button. And stay tuned in for our next video.
Y'all be safe out there.